So the EV maker NIO is doing something pretty wild right now. They're rolling out some of the biggest sales incentives I think I've ever seen, and I mean huge giveaways. The big question is, right, is this a genius move to lock in customers for life? Or is it a sign of desperation from a company that's feeling the heat? All right, let's get into it.
Let's just start with a single number, 240. So what is that? Well, that's how many free battery swaps NIO is just giving away to people who buy certain cars. To give you some perspective on that, for a typical driver, that's literally years of what is essentially free fuel. It's an absolutely mind-boggling number. I mean, no other car company on the planet is doing anything even close to this.
And yeah, that brings us right to the main question we're trying to answer here. Just why, right? Why would any company, especially an EV company, give away its core service on this kind of scale? I mean, on the surface, it makes zero business sense. But stick with me here, because as you're about to see, there's a really specific, kind of brilliant strategy going on behind the scenes.
Okay, so to really get what's happening, we gotta dig a little deeper. This isn't just some blanket discount. Oh no, NIO has been super strategic about this. They've custom-tailored these incentives for every single car in their lineup, from their older models all the way up to their flashy new flagships.
And check this out. This is where it gets really interesting. Just look at how different these deals are. You've got the older ET7 and EC7 models getting that insane 240 free swaps plus 0% interest. But then the newer cars, they get way less, only 48 swaps. And then there's the ES8, which is super popular and in high demand. It gets basically nothing, a couple of pillows. Seriously, this is anything but random. It's a totally surgical approach to moving metal.
So here's the key takeaway. NIO is using these massive freebies to fix a very specific problem they have. Look, the ET7 and EC7 are great cars, no doubt. But the problem is they're now competing against newer, arguably better value models from NIO itself, like the ES8. So you gotta ask, without a giant incentive, why would anyone buy the older, pricier car? Well, this whole giveaway is NIO's answer to that exact question.
This right here just perfectly shows the two ends of their strategy. It's brilliant. On one side, you've got the upcoming ET9, their top-of-the-line flagship, getting what they're calling the BaaS treatment. I mean, we're talking 10 years of free swaps, a personal driver, airport pickups. They're not just selling a car, they're selling a whole lifestyle. And on the other side, the ES8. It's so popular it basically sells itself, so it gets next to nothing. NIO is being incredibly smart, putting their money exactly where it's going to have the biggest impact. All right, but the story doesn't stop there. It actually gets bigger, because this isn't just about the main NIO brand. The company is also launching two totally new sub-brands, ONVO and Firefly, and they're designed to go after the mass market. And you guessed it, their incentive strategies are completely different all over again.
Okay, let's look at ONVO first. Their new L60 is aimed right at the heart of the mainstream market. Think Tesla Model Y competitors. And they are not holding back. If you buy a limited Violet edition, you get 144 free swaps and 5 years of free autopilot software. That is a massive value proposition, right? It's clearly designed to make a huge splash and just pull customers away from the competition.
And here's a quick, super interesting cultural tidbit for you. That limited edition car, they're only making 666 of them. Now, in the West, that number has, well, some pretty dark connotations. But in China, it's actually a lucky number. It sounds a lot like the word for smooth or skilled. It's just a small detail, but it tells you so much about who their target market is. Then you've got Firefly. This is NIO's new entry-level brand. And here, the whole strategy is way simpler. You're not going to see any complicated free swap voucher deals. Nope. Instead, it's all about making the car affordable and throwing in simple, useful perks. Things like free accessories or a free charge. It's exactly the right approach for the budget-conscious buyers they're going after. Okay, let's pause for a second, because at this point, you're probably thinking exactly what I was thinking. This is just an insane amount of free stuff. 240 free swaps over here, 144 over there, free autopilot. I mean, how on earth can this possibly be profitable? How is this a sustainable business?
Well, here's the twist. The answer is you have to look at the whole question differently. The source material makes it clear. The goal of giving away all these battery swaps, it isn't about making a direct profit. Not at all. It's about building something way more valuable in the long run. It's about building a competitive moat. And this quote right here, this is the absolute key to understanding NIO's entire strategy.
For Battery Swap, it's not a business, it's more of a moat. It's kind of like the free salad bar that gets people into the restaurant. I love that analogy. Think about it. The salad bar doesn't make the restaurant money, right? But it gets you in the door. It makes you pick that restaurant over the one next door. For NIO, the Battery Swap network is their salad bar, and all these free swaps are getting customers hooked and locked into their ecosystem.
Now, for anyone who's not familiar with the term, a strategic moat is basically a unique, sustainable advantage that a company has over its competition. You know, like Apple's ecosystem. Once you're in, it's hard to leave. Or Coca-Cola's brand power. For NIO, that moat is their massive network of thousands of battery swap stations. Literally, no other car maker has anything like it. And every free swap they give away is like making that moat a little wider and a little deeper.
And it's really important to separate the two parts of NIO's power business. You see, their regular charging business, plugging your car in, that's actually profitable already. But the battery swap service, that's not profitable. Not yet anyway. They're treating it completely differently, more like a strategic investment or maybe a marketing cost to get new customers and keep them happy.
And from a financial perspective, this actually makes a ton of sense. Think about it. If you knock 10 grand off the price of a car, that's an immediate painful hit to your revenue right now. But giving away 240 future battery swaps, well, that's a cost that gets spread out over years. It's a much, much easier expense for the company to swallow on its balance sheet today.
So, what's the bottom line here? Where is all of this headed? Well, it's pretty clear NIO is playing the long game. They're using their one-of-a-kind battery swap tech as this incredibly powerful lure to pull people in. But make no mistake, a strategy this aggressive definitely comes with some pretty big risks.
And we have to remember, these incentives, as powerful as they are really just a temporary fix. They're basically a Band-Aid. The real underlying issue, especially for models like the ET7 and EC7, is that the product is getting a bit old. The source material suggests the only real, permanent solution is simple. They need to update the lineup, and they need to do it fast. And so that leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? NIO is betting billions, literally billions, that all these giveaways will build a moat so deep and wide that no competitor can ever cross it. It is a massive high-stakes gamble. So are they building an unbreakable fortress that will guarantee their future? Or are they just digging themselves into a very expensive hole that they won't be able to climb out of? Well, I guess only time will tell.